There's something you learn as you get older, something most people don't understand until life has knocked them down a few times. Not everyone deserves access to your past. You see, your struggles, your battles, your mistakes, they're not public property. They're not stories to be passed around at every dinner table or whispered to people who only show up when they're curious, not when they're caring. Because here's the truth, the more you share about your pain, the more you give people the opportunity to misuse it. And if you've lived long enough, you've already seen how quickly a story you told in confidence can turn into gossip in someone else's mouth. Older women carry a depth that others can't always see. You've been through things that change the way you look at the world, the way you love, the way you protect yourself. And it's natural to want to talk about it, to explain it, to say, "This is why I am the way I am." But here's the catch. Not everyone is safe enough to hand those stories to. Because when you give someone a piece of your past, you're giving them a piece of your power, and not everyone knows what to do with that. Some will respect it, hold it carefully, maybe even learn from it. But others, they'll use it against you. They'll hold it over you in moments of conflict. They'll bring it up when you least expect it, as if your struggles are proof of your weakness instead of evidence of your survival. And so, wisdom looks like discretion. It looks like smiling and saying, "I've been through things, but I'm still here." It looks like not needing to lay your scars bare just to prove you've healed, because scars are not for display, they're reminders. They're private notes between you and God, between you and the battles you fought in the middle of the night, when no one was watching. The world doesn't get to hold that. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people listen differently when you talk about your wins compared to when you talk about your losses? Wins make them clap, but losses make them curious. And sometimes that curiosity is not compassion. It's comparison. It's judgment. It's entertainment. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself sharing details of your hardest seasons with people who don't even have the maturity to value them. So instead of exposing every wound, choose the power of silence. Not because you're ashamed, but because you're wise. Because the older you get, the more you understand that healing doesn't require an audience. It requires peace, and peace often comes from privacy. You don't have to keep defending your choices, your mistakes, your recoveries. You don't have to keep replaying your story to get validation. You know what you survived. You know the weight you carried. You know how close you came to giving up, and you know why you didn't. That's enough. And here's the beautiful part. When you keep those struggles guarded, people don't see your wounds first. They see your strength. They see your presence, your wisdom, your confidence. They see the fruit of your healing, not the details of your hurt. That's the kind of power that makes people look at you and say, "There's something about her I can't quite figure out." And that mystery, that's protection. That's peace. You don't owe anyone the blueprint of your pain. You don't need to hand out pieces of your past like souvenirs. Let them wonder. Let them see the light in you without ever knowing the storms you survived to get there. Because the truth is, your struggles made you strong, but your silence keeps you powerful. Dreams are sacred. They're not just ideas floating around in your head. They're seeds planted deep inside of you. And the thing about seeds is, they don't grow when they're exposed too soon. You don't dig up a seed every other day to check if it's growing. You cover it, protect it, give it space, and let time do the work. That's exactly how you should treat your private dreams and desires. Not everyone around you can see the vision you see. Not everyone has the imagination to believe in something they can't touch yet. And if you reveal it too early, you give people the chance to pour doubt where faith should be. We've all been there. You finally share an idea, a hope, maybe even a plan, and what's the first response you hear? "That's too risky, that's unrealistic at your age," and suddenly the thing that gave you life, that gave you energy, that made you wake up with excitement, it starts to feel smaller. Not because it was small, but because someone else couldn't see what you saw. Their lack of vision begins to shrink yours, and over time, if you're not careful, you start to believe them. But here's the truth. Your dream wasn't given to them. It was given to you. It was whispered into your heart, not theirs. And the older you get, the more you realize how important it is to guard that whisper, because you've lived long enough to know that people project their fears onto you. They'll call it advice, they'll call it wisdom, but really, it's their own limitation showing. And if you hand them your dream before it's ready, they'll put it back in your hands covered in doubt. That's why silence becomes such a powerful tool. When you hold your vision close, you give it room to breathe. You give it a chance to grow roots before it ever has to face the storms of other people's opinions. You don't owe anyone an explanation for what you're working toward. You don't have to announce your every desire just to prove you're still dreaming. Because the truth is, desire doesn't diminish with age, it refines. Older women know that not every dream is about noise and applause. Sometimes it's about quiet fulfillment, about creating something that only you will ever understand. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem untouchable. They don't broadcast everything. They move quietly. They let their results speak. And by the time the world finds out, it's already done. That's the power of protecting your vision. When you stop telling everyone what you're building, you stop giving them the chance to tear it down before it's even real. So maybe it's a business you want to start. Maybe it's a book you've been writing in secret. Maybe it's a personal goal, a trip you want to take, a new chapter you're planning just for yourself. Whatever it is, keep it close, protect it. Because when you carry your desires privately, you remove the weight of outside voices. You're no longer waiting for someone to validate your dream. You're validating it by believing in it enough to nurture it on your own. And when it's ready, when it's strong enough, when it's undeniable, then let the world see it. By then, no opinion, no doubt, no sideways comment will be able to uproot what you've already grown. Not every vision is meant to be shared, and not every dream belongs in someone else's mouth. The strongest dreams are the ones you guard in silence until they're unshakable. Family is sacred, and one of the greatest lessons life teaches you as you grow older is that not every detail of your family life belongs in the hands of outsiders. The truth is, every family has its struggles. Every family has disagreements, heartbreaks, and issues that sometimes feel overwhelming. But when you start carrying those problems outside your home and handing them to people who were never meant to hold them, you risk turning something temporary into something permanent. Outsiders don't have the same loyalty you do. They don't love your family like you do. They don't feel the responsibility you carry. To them, it's just a story. To you, it's your life. We've all seen how quickly private matters can turn into gossip. You tell someone what your sister did, what your child said, what your partner failed at, and suddenly it's not just between you and them anymore. It's out there. It's repeated, reshaped, exaggerated, and retold. And before you know it, you're dealing with two battles: the actual problem at home and the outside noise created by people who don't even understand the full story. That's why discretion is wisdom. It's not about pretending your family is perfect. It's about understanding that imperfection doesn't need an audience. Family problems are meant to be handled with care, and care doesn't mean putting every detail on display. Sometimes it means sitting quietly with the discomfort and working through it inside the walls of your home. Because once you let the world in, you give the world a voice in decisions that only your family should be making. And most of the time, those voices don't build, they break, they don't heal, they divide. There's also something else about family that outsiders will never fully grasp: context. They don't know the years of history, the bonds that stretch back decades, the inside jokes, the sacrifices made in silence. They only see the argument, the mistake, the flaw, and when they see that in isolation, they judge it. They tell you what you should do, how you should handle it, who you should cut off, but they don't carry your love, your commitment, your memories, and without that context, their advice is shallow. That's why keeping family matters private isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing to honor the complexity of those relationships rather than reducing them to sound bites for someone else's entertainment. As you get older, you realize peace is often found in protecting what's closest to you. Not everyone should know when your family is struggling. Not everyone should know the details of your disagreements, because people don't always want resolution. They want a story, and if you give them that story, they'll hold on to it long after you and your family have moved forward. You'll forgive, you'll heal, you'll rebuild, but they'll still look at your loved ones through the lens of what you told them, and that creates a gap that doesn't need to exist. So you choose privacy. You choose to love your family enough to shield them from unnecessary judgment. You choose to believe that not every battle needs an audience, and not every struggle needs to be explained, because real strength is not in exposing flaws, but in protecting the bond, even when it feels fragile. At the end of the day, loyalty isn't proven when everything is easy. It's proven when things get hard and you still choose to keep your circle safe. And that's why some family problems should never leave the family. Money is one of the fastest ways to reveal who people really are. The moment others get a glimpse into what you have or what you don't have, you start to see jealousy, envy, comparison, and even entitlement show up in ways you never expected. That's why keeping your financial situation private isn't about secrecy, it's about peace. It's about protecting yourself from unnecessary judgment and protecting your relationships from unnecessary strain. Because the truth is, money is never just money. It's a symbol, it's a trigger, it's a mirror that reflects how people see themselves compared to you. When you share too much about your financial situation, you open the door for people to put you in categories. If you're doing well, some will resent you. They'll start to think you owe them, that you should be giving more, helping more, carrying more of the load. And when you don't, suddenly you're seen as selfish. On the other hand, if you're struggling and you make that struggle visible, some will pity you, some will underestimate you, and some will even celebrate your struggle because it makes them feel better about their own. Either way, the more people know, the less freedom you have to live on your own terms. Older women understand this better than anyone. With age comes the realization that your financial life doesn't need to be on display for the world to measure and critique. You don't have to prove your stability by showing receipts, and you don't have to justify your spending to anyone. You've earned the right to manage your money without commentary, without eyes watching, without whispers following. Privacy here isn't about hiding. It's about creating a boundary between your personal choices and everyone else's opinions. Think about how many relationships have been ruined by money, friendships lost because someone felt owed, families divided because of inheritance, partners torn apart because of financial secrets. At the center of so much tension is not just money itself, it's how much people know or think they know. That's why keeping your financial life private keeps relationships cleaner. It keeps love from being tied to numbers. It allows people to value you for who you are, not for what you have or don't have. And here's another truth. When people don't know, they can't manipulate. If no one knows how much you make, they can't pressure you into lending. If no one knows how much you saved, they can't guilt you into giving. If no one knows what you spent, they can't judge whether you deserved it or not. Silence here isn't just wisdom, it's protection. It's protecting your hard work, your peace of mind, and your right to live without feeling constantly watched. We live in a culture where people are obsessed with appearances. They want to measure your worth by what car you drive, what bag you carry, what vacation you take. But you know better now. You know that real wealth is peace of mind, real wealth is health, real wealth is freedom to live without explaining yourself. And the only way to hold on to that is to stop putting your finances on the table for everyone to dissect. So let people wonder, Let them make assumptions if they want to. Let them try to guess. None of that matters because you know what's real and you know what belongs to you. At the end of the day, your money doesn't define you, but protecting the privacy around it does. Love is already fragile enough without the weight of outside voices pressing down on it. The older you get, the more you realize that relationships thrive best when they are protected, not publicized. It's natural to want to share, to vent, to seek advice when things get hard. But what you're really doing in those moments is opening a private space to people who were never meant to live there. And once those doors are open, it's almost impossible to close them again. Every couple has struggles, arguments, misunderstandings, seasons where you don't see eye to eye. That's not weakness, that's reality. But when you take those struggles outside and place them in the hands of friends, coworkers, or even family, you invite opinions that can poison the bond you're trying to protect. Outsiders don't have the same investment in your relationship that you do. They don't share the history, the memories, the forgiveness, or the deep commitment that's built over time. All they see is the snapshot you gave them, the bad moment, the harsh word, the mistake. And they'll judge your partner or your relationship based on that one piece without ever understanding the full story. What happens next is subtle but dangerous. You and your partner reconcile, you forgive. You move forward, but the person you told, they don't move forward. They hold onto that snapshot. They look at your partner differently. They look at your relationship differently. And every time you're around them, you feel the weight of their unspoken opinion. What was once between two people now has an audience, and an audience can change the entire way you feel about something. Older women know the value of protecting intimacy. Intimacy is not just about physical closeness. It's about privacy, about building a safe space where love can grow without interference. And when you let outsiders into your relationship struggles, you erode that intimacy. Suddenly, your relationship isn't just between two people anymore. It becomes a group project, and nothing sacred can survive that kind of exposure. There's also the trap of advice. People mean well, but advice often reflects their own wounds more than your situation. Someone who has been hurt might tell you to leave. Someone who has been betrayed might tell you not to trust. Someone who has never experienced what you're going through might dismiss your feelings entirely. And if you let those voices get too loud, you'll start to question your own heart. You'll start to doubt what you know, not because it's wrong, but because someone else couldn't see it the way you do. That's why silence becomes an act of love. Choosing not to expose your relationship struggles isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about preserving what's real. It's about giving your love a fighting chance without having to battle the opinions of everyone around you. It's about saying, "This is ours. We'll work through it together. We don't need an audience to validate us." Relationships are hard enough without the world's judgment. They take patience, forgiveness, humility, and sometimes more resilience than you think you have. But the strength of that bond doesn't come from what you share with others. It comes from what you protect between the two of you. And that's why the challenges in your relationship should stay between you and the one you love. One of the greatest strengths you can develop with age is the ability to move in silence. There's a certain wisdom that comes when you finally realize not everyone needs to know your next move. When you're younger, you want to share your plans. You want to tell people what you're working on. You want to announce what you're about to do because it feels exciting. But after you've lived long enough, after you've been burned a few times, you understand something powerful. The more you reveal, the more you risk. When you tell people what you're planning, you open yourself up to doubt, to envy, to sabotage, sometimes even unintentionally. Not everyone claps when you win. Not everyone celebrates your growth. Some will take your plans and copy them. Others will quietly root against you, hoping you fail so they feel better about staying the same. And some will plant seeds of doubt in your mind so small you don't even realize they're taking root until you start hesitating. That's why silence becomes your shield, because when no one knows what's coming, no one can stop it. Moving in silence isn't about being secretive, it's about being strategic. It's about knowing that momentum builds best without interference. Think about the most successful people you've watched. They don't talk about what they're about to do. They just do it, and by the time you find out, it's already finished, already thriving, already undeniable. That's the power of keeping your next move to yourself. It gives you the space to focus, to stay clear, to build without distraction. There's also freedom in not explaining yourself. The moment you share your plans, people want details. They want timelines, they want reasons, they want proof. And suddenly, you're spending more time defending your dream than building it. But when you hold it close, you take that pressure away. You're not living under anyone's expectations. You're not bound to anyone's approval. You're free to start, stop, adjust, and change direction without an audience waiting to critique your every decision. Older women know that life is unpredictable. Plans change, people change, opportunities come and go. And when you've already told everyone what you're about to do, changing course feels like failure in their eyes, even if it's wisdom in yours. That's why privacy protects flexibility. It gives you room to shift without shame, to pivot without explanation, to follow your gut without feeling like you've let someone down for not following through on what you announced. And here's the most important part: results speak louder than promises. People can doubt your words, but they can't deny your actions. They can question your intentions, but they can't argue with your outcomes. When you show up with the finished product, with the success already in hand, you remove their power to interfere. All they can do is watch. And sometimes the best revenge, the best protection, the best answer is simply letting your success be revealed in silence. So you guard your next move, not because you're hiding, not because you're scared, but because you're wise enough to know that power is not in the announcement, it's in the execution.